Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining our session today on Azure Talk. As you know, Azure Talk is a community-driven Azure group where we have more than 3,300 members who are part of this Azure Talk community group based on IAM. So we have Instant Messenger based community group where we come together to share our knowledge and answer questions, share our views, ideas about Azure and how to solve a real world problem. So today we are going to talk about Azure DevOps, but even before we get into that, just for housekeeping purpose, I have muted the audience to maintain a good quality of recording. So, I apologize for that in advance, but keep typing your questions in chat. If you have any questions, please you do type in the chat and we will pick those questions. With that, we'll go ahead and get started. So let me introduce today's speaker. Today we are joined by Ashish Raj, who is senior engineer and who has volunteered us to give a session on Azure DevOps. So Azure DevOps is the new DevOps which Microsoft has introduced two weeks back, where they have evolved the Visual Studio Team services into Azure DevOps. So we'll talk more about that in subsequent slides. And Ashish has gleefully accepted our request to give presentation to Azure Talk members. So before we go further into the agenda, I just want to point out some of the URLs that you probably would be interested. So in case you want to be part of our future sessions, please do register on www.azureeasy.com. So in case we do weekly session, not weekly, but bi-weekly sessions every 2 weeks, and we will send out those notifications to you if you register onto our website. We also have our Telegram group. So we have Azure Talk Telegram group, so which is t.me/Azure Talk, and we have more than almost 3,300 members out there, and you can post all questions, and you will get answers to those questions there. We also have Azure DevOps Pro group, which is again led by Ashish Raj. So he's Chief Community Moderator for Azure DevOps Pro. And if you have any question related to Azure DevOps, please, I would encourage you to join that group and post your questions there. And I'm sure you will get answers. It will get answered by either Ashish or by other community members out there. We also have our O365 group. So in case if you have any questions about O365 or EMS or Intune Windows, please do join that group. Further, our sessions get recorded and we publish it onto our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/c/AzureTalk. This is our channel name. So in case you missed the sessions or your colleagues have missed the sessions, they can always refer this recording on our YouTube channel, AzureTalk, which is on the YouTube. Additionally, we also publish those sessions and the URLs for that onto our website, azureeasy.com. With that, I will not take more time, and we'll get into the agenda. And I will hand over the baton to Ashish. So Ashish, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Fine. So today we are going to talk about Azure DevOps, and this slide will present you the agenda we are going to discuss in next few minutes, probably 1 hour. So we will start with what's new with Azure DevOps. So what exactly new with it? And there are several components they have somehow rebranded or somehow they have introduced a completely new feature. So one of them is Azure Repo, and then we will have Azure Boards, and then Azure Pipelines, and then Azure Artifacts, and we have Azure Test Plans. So we will go all about them in brief, what they are, and if they are, there are some rebranding, there are some integration, and there are some new features as well in each of these services. And then we will talk about one of the very important and a very new feature as far as Azure DevOps is concerned, that is their GitHub extension. So it is a very useful extension for anyone who is working in open source world, or maybe, I mean, if they use GitHub a lot, then this extension will really be very handy for them. And we will try to demo it right from the scratch and to end to end. So this is our today's agenda. And Miraj, can we go for the next slide?
Sure.
Okay, so yeah, this picture depicts actually something what Microsoft is trying to tell with this new rebranded, you can say, or integrated feature that they call Azure DevOps. So they are kind of trying to evolve a kind of ecosystem where people from different platform, people from different language background, people from different cloud environment, people from different on-prem environment, they can kind of use different Azure DevOps services to implement the DevOps practices within their organization. So we will go about the services, and then I will try to explain how it is like DevOps, why they are using DevOps term in their name and all. So let's go with the next slide. Okay, so this is what's new with Azure DevOps. So is a set of offering by Microsoft to meet your DevOps tool chain in need. So what exactly it is, so there are some discussion going on that they have kind of launched a product with the name DevOps. However, DevOps is a practice, DevOps is a culture you can't really buy. Yeah, right. But why they are using DevOps? So Microsoft answer for that is like they are kind of trying to give you an ecosystem, tool set of ecosystem where Microsoft will give you some of the tools. Microsoft give you some of the extensions, and in some places Microsoft will try to give you integration with some of the other third-party tool sets, so that your transition to a DevOps culture will be smooth. So that's why they are calling this service as Azure DevOps. So it's not really DevOps, but it's going to help you to adopt DevOps in your organization. And when you explore the services, somehow majority of them will be able to help you to do certain things related to DevOps. The practices DevOps encourage you to do. And if you want to know exactly what I mean by practices and habits and all those things, so we have already done a basic DevOps session a few months back. That's actually 3 sessions we have done. So the first one is about DevOps, so everything about concept and all. And we have also covered infrastructure as code. That is one of the component of DevOps. So now you can go through that and you can understand what exactly DevOps is, and then what particular service in Azure DevOps is trying to help you, implementing those habits or those practices there. So let's go to the next point on the slide. Okay. So yeah, so previously known as, anyone who has worked on VSTS earlier, if they will explore a little bit more about into the Azure DevOps, they will find that it is kind of a rebranding of the same tool set with some integrated features, and some integration is really with the GitHub. So GitHub was recently bought by the Microsoft, and Microsoft has a vision with GitHub. So that vision you will be able to see if you will try exploring the Azure DevOps there. So they have integration. As I said, there will be a demo for extension. That extension actually, kind of gives you the Azure DevOps and GitHub on the same place for many of the things you do in GitHub. So and going forward, I think Microsoft will do further integration and will help you to do things on GitHub. At the same time, you will use services from Azure DevOps.
Yeah,
Now,
I think
why?
I think you rightly pointed out, you will see more integration coming in for GitHub because now Microsoft has bought it. So Microsoft would include that into the ecosystem of the VSTS and the Azure DevOps now, which is the new name. So you would see more integration and more plugins available for GitHub integration. That you will see for sure.
Yep. And on the next point that says that unlimited free build minutes. So that is one of the really very nice thing I have seen in the recent announcement that Microsoft has done. So actually what Microsoft has given you, if you are running an application on GitHub that is open source, and if you need a CI/CD pipeline to kind of build and deliver deploy that application so that the open source community can consume that particular service. So if right now you are using some paid service to do your build and do your deployment and all, Microsoft is giving you kind of free, I mean, like unlimited build minutes, that I mean just build it, and no matter how much time it takes, you can do it. At the same time, 10 parallel tasks, that's really good thing. I mean, not many will use it, but those who have big projects in GitHub and they are open source and they have no issues keeping that in open source, then Microsoft gives you that particular 10 parallel tasks. So you run a build, you have 10 tasks in parallel and you can run it. So there is no limitation on that. On it, yeah, I mean 10 parallel tasks. Above that, you will have to buy, but 10 parallel tasks itself is a very big thing that Microsoft has given to the open source community. And then multiple platform for open source project forever. So like I mean, you can. It is not like it is coming from Microsoft that then you can only target the Microsoft ecosystem like Azure as a cloud or .NET as application programming language. They are supporting all the major platform. I would say many of them, like .NET, Node.js, Java, you name it, you have it. And then for those particular programming languages, you have the build, you have the capability. Hosted agents are there, like hosted Linux agent is there, hosted Mac is there, hosted Windows is already there, that is Microsoft platform. So it's kind of giving you, I mean, any kind of project you're running open source, you have the unlimited DevOps services in terms of pipeline. Then even if you have a private project, so even if you are running a private project, then also Microsoft gives you 180 free minutes. So that is really 1800 actually, sorry. So 1800 free minutes, that means every day 1 hour build minutes you are getting free for nothing. Like it is your private project, you are not, it is not open source, you are not sharing with anyone, but still Microsoft is giving you their compute power, their cloud infrastructure to use to make a CI/CD pipeline for that particular project. That has to be private for using 1800 minutes, and if you make it a public project, you have it unlimited. So that's one of the kind of a thing for private project as well. It's not only unlimited for public one. And then more flexibility in terms of, so now as I said, so they have kind of they have done couple of integration with GitHub, and at the same time if you use if you have used VSTS in past, you have seen that their marketplace is growing time by time. So they, in their marketplace, almost all the third party like Octopus and all, I mean those who want to use Octopus as a CD but CI they want to use the Microsoft, then they can kind of integrate. And now Microsoft is kind of going in that direction only, that not only they will develop their own services, at the same time they have a commitment to open source community to integrate all the major platform, all the major tool set being used as a DevOps tool chain, and so that people will have their own choice of tool set in running their DevOps practices. So that's how Microsoft is kind of rebranding or kind of recommending this tool set into your DevOps tool chain. So this is what the new thing is in DevOps. We will go through different services that Microsoft is giving you. Let's go to the, yeah. So one of the first service that
So
Microsoft gives
before,
is
so before
Azure.
we, sorry to interrupt you, Vashi. So before we go into that, there's one question from Arun, which is about 10 parallel tasks means 10 builds together. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Good. All right. Let's go ahead. Sorry.
So then you have the first service that I would say is Azure Repo. So Azure Repo is a version control you have. So version control is, it was there already. That is like they used to call code. Now it is called Azure Repos. So what is different here is they are kind of making it, so earlier if you have used VSTS code, I mean VSTS code part of VSTS to host your repository, it was only giving you private repository. There was no option to use that repository publicly, so that you can use a different tool set, or maybe you can give that URL to someone else and they can see your code and all, they can use or clone or whatever they want to do. So now they have made the changes. One is private and public repository. So you have private as well as public repository now. They are giving you two types of version control inbuilt, that is Git or TVFC, Team Version Foundation Control. So Git is kind of becoming a de facto standard for or any version control. But still, if you want to use more more of TVFC, you have it. Apart from it, you can import repositories, from existing repository as well. If you are hosting a repository on a GitHub or a Bitbucket or SVN, so I mean, you can import those repository into the Azure repos and then continue using Azure repos going forward. So that kind of flexibility is there.
Sorry, Ashish, let me interrupt you. Just for a layman, could you define what is repo?
Okay, so if this comes in handy for, normally it is used by developers. So now coming into the infrastructure, infrastructure as code, a very hot topic within infrastructure. So this repository is making sense for infrastructure guys as well. So what exactly it is? So if anything you write as a code, you're supposed to manage it in a version, so that anytime anything bad happens, or the first thing is anything bad happens, you have the you have the option to restore it back. So version control, first thing, this restore it back. The second thing is, when you write code, you have collaborators, you have multiple teams, you have multiple people writing different component in the application or in the code you are writing. So for an application developer, it might be different functions, it might be different classes, it might be different things.
So essentially you're saying repo is a centralized location, a centralized share, where codes are stored, codes are versioned, and collaborators can work together simultaneously.
Exactly. Yeah. So one is central location. Everyone can push it. Everyone can pull it, and then they can. There is there is a kind of a complete process how you manage your repo, how you work on a repo. That thing is kind of really a big topic. But in nutshell, you use your repo if you're doing anything like code. Even if you're writing a PowerShell script, a small script, you should use a repo. You should go and find out what exactly it is, and then you will find how to use it. So and going forward, we will try to see if we can host some session around it as well.
Sure.
And yeah.
Yeah, I want to say thank you, for clarifying it. Now it makes more sense to me, and I think to the audience. So.
Yeah, and then we have, like as I said in point 3, import an existing repository, and there are multiple repository options which you can import. Like most of the major platform, they are already supporting. SVN is there, GitHub is there. If you go to the Azure repo, documentation, you will see list of all those services. I mean, it is like a basic one: GitHub, SVN, Bitbucket, GitHub, any normal Git repository if you have a own server of Git and all those things. And then you have configure CI on your Azure repo using Azure Pipeline or platform of your choice. So here, this is new, something new, that as I said earlier, it was private repository, so you can't do really outside of VSTS anything. Now VSTS is Azure DevOps services now, so you could not go outside if you were using a version control in VSTS. Now if you are using Azure repo, you can host your code here, but if you don't like the CI system of Azure Pipeline that they call, that is part of Azure DevOps services. So if you don't like that, you want to go with the Jenkins, you want to go with the something else, go with it. You have the public repository or private repository as well that can be called in a different CI pipeline altogether. And then you can come back for release maybe, or you might be using test plans for your testing your, I mean, it is like quite flexible. One service, you want to use it, another you don't want to use it, go ahead, pick a different platform altogether. So this is all, you know, the new thing in repo. More or less, other things are there which were already part of VSTS. Now they rebranded it and making it, you know, in a different interface for you. Now the next thing is Azure Board. Earlier it used to be called Work, and what exactly it is like, so Microsoft answers, so any DevOps team works, when DevOps team works, they probably works in one of the three these project processes. One may be working in Agile, so Agile is one of the most favorite, and Scrum is also one of the most favorite. CMMI, very few companies will use it. So if you are kind of project planning in one of these project processes, then you can use Azure Board to, you know, plan, track, and doing all those kind of things when you do as an Agile practitioner or as Scrum Master. You can do, you know, and apart from it, Azure Board gives you the project templates that can be configured. So normally what happens when people work in Agile, they really want a flexibility. That's what Agile is. So if you have, so Microsoft has given a basic template, or I would say a default template for Agile process. But if your organization has a really customized process for Agile, then you can go ahead into the Azure Board, customize that particular process, and then go ahead use it in your project, in your Azure DevOps project. So that is one of the good thing you have in Azure Board. The other is, Kanban board was there in VSTS as well. Now also you have it. So I mean, whatever you had in VSTS, and if you are coming from that background, so you know, consider you have been covered already. It's just that there might be some interface changes, there might be some added feature that you are getting, but all those things are already covered. You have a dashboard for insight, so you have a project dashboard as well, and that also you can actually configure. Like, you know, you want to see how the work items are, what is the status of work item, how is the team performing, how is the, you know, sprint going on, how much time left, how much, you know, capacity is left, and all those kind of stuff that Agile practitioner would do, you can do it over there.
So there is a question, who uses Azure boards? So typically, who are the audience of Azure board?
Okay, so normally it is like more or less it will be used by all the people involved in the project, but yes, there will be section of something which will be used by a particular type of user. Like mostly Kanban board will be used by someone who is kind of tracking the project. It can be a Scrum Master, it can be a like project manager or whatever who is in that role. But when you talk about developer, they will go into the interface where they have to update the work item. So more or less it will be used by different people in different ways.
Yeah, so I think Yeah, I think, Arun, to answer your question, most of the time it will be used by the entire team, but it's a PM or it's the management, or like the Scrum Master would the one who drive this Azure board. The other team members will work on the work items, the user stories, and the issues that they find out. So I think. More or less, it's Azure Board will be used by everybody, but I think Scrum Master and PM would be certainly more interested in knowing the burn rate and all other stuff and track what's the progress.
Okay, yeah. So, and then we have plan, track, and release your sprint. So, yeah, almost everything you do as an agile practitioner, as an agile team, you can do all those things in Azure Board. So you can go ahead and when we will do demo, we will try to kind of go through the different interfaces. Actually, if time will permit, but the real demo we will do for GitHub Extension, and then if we will have time, then probably we will go through each of these interfaces. In nutshell, we are trying to explain you what's new and what you can do with that. Azure Pipeline, and that is the kind of, I would say, most useful thing you have in Azure DevOps service. Everything else is also useful, but this will be used by so many people, and this will be something really good for open source people, as well as someone who is hosting their private application as well. Like, it gives you the capability for CI/CD pipeline. So you in pipeline, you can actually define your CI, continuous integration and continuous delivery pipeline over there, and then you are getting unlimited build time. That is really good thing for you. And then 1800 minutes per month for users who are hosting private repository, any language, any platform. I mean, practically it is like they are giving you Mac OS, they are giving you Linux, they are giving you Windows. What else you need? You can go ahead and write your task in the build definition depending upon your need for the build, and then you can run that build against any of these platforms over there, and that is hosted, that is covered by the Microsoft kind of cloud infrastructure. You have the availability, you have the all those kind of scalability and SLA and all those things, and you have the own agent as well. So if you think that all these hosted agents are not able to cover your need for build, you can create your own server in Azure or anywhere else, and you can customize the server as per your build requirement, and you can call that server for running your build or for running your deployment, and that's it. Like, I mean, you have hosted agent as well as you have your own, you have the capability to host your own server. The infrastructure will be yours, of course, but you can call those infrastructure
So,
over there.
Ashish, I have a question, and just on the behalf of audience, I would like to ask this. You referred the agents. What are different kind of agents, and what exactly the role of the agent, the build agent?
Okay, so when you run your build, you need a machine to run all those things. So suppose you are running a .NET application build. So for running a .NET application build, you need MS build running with a argument, so that it can generate binaries to which can be deployed on a server. That's the build.
So
Actually,
basically, it's a compiler, it's a make tool which compiles your source code into
yes,
binaries.
it's a tool set, and then it differs different platform to different platform. MS Build, I'm giving the example for .NET projects. For Node project, you have NPM and so on and so forth. So those things will have to be installed on those hosted agents.
And
Or
are there different kind of agents, or
yes, there are the build agent and release agent are, I mean, they are the script. If you are hosting your own agent, then you will be getting a single script which will be able to, kind of configure your build and release agent on the same server.
and are there any different type of build agents, or they're only?
Different types. It differs from the configuration point of view. So
So is
if you
there is there is there something called I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to throw it out. Hosted agent and private agent. What's the
Yeah. So as I said, Microsoft is giving you hosted agent for Windows platform, for macOS platform, for Linux platform. That they call hosted agent. So what exactly that means is Microsoft has hosted a machine with configured with Visual Studio or Mac OS or Linux machine for you to be called in your build definition. So you
Got
just
it.
define what needs to be done on that machine. You will call that machine. That machine is hosted in Azure infrastructure. You don't have to take care of that machine, like configure, or you don't have to pay anything, because Microsoft is giving unlimited for
Got it.
public project. Yeah.
So mainly the hosted agent is where it's hosted by Microsoft. You're using it as a software as a service or platform as a service from Microsoft. You don't have to have your own machine to deploy your own agent. Whereas the private
Yes.
agent is you need a machine on which you will deploy and it will consume the resources from that machine, right?
Yes. So
Okay.
if those agents which are being given by Microsoft freely to you with some limits are not up to your your need, then you can configure your own infrastructure. You will have to pay for it. You have to configure it. You have to manage it. That they call private agent. That you can do in Azure DevOps actually.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you for clarification.
Yep. And then you have containers and Kubernetes deployments. So yeah, nowadays and going forward, so many projects are moving towards microservices pattern, and in microservices pattern, the infrastructure is kind of going towards Kubernetes deployment, and Azure DevOps has been optimized to kind of give you all the options that you need to build your container, that is Docker image or something, and then deploy it in a Kubernetes cluster irrespective of the platform. So it is not about only AKS, that is Azure Kubernetes Services. It can be a Google Kubernetes cluster. It can be a AWS Kubernetes cluster. It can be any Kubernetes, or maybe on-premises Kubernetes cluster. It can be any Kubernetes cluster. You can deploy there. Microsoft is kind of giving you easy to transition on that particular platform, and there are inbuilt tasks that you can choose. There are very limited configuration required for those things, and then it is Microsoft is kind of working on integrating these kind of infrastructure or these kind of integration with Azure DevOps services also. Then you have extensible marketplace tasks. So tasks are like when you create a CI build, or a CI that is what we call build definition, or when you create a release definition, you actually do a task in sequence, like first download certain things, then run certain things, and then zip it and then publish it somewhere. So this is what normally you do in we will go through a CI/CD pipeline that I have created for our demo project, but this is in nutshell. You have a project, you have a code, you have to build it before deploying it to the server. So to build it, you have to run certain tasks, certain commands. To run those certain commands, you need that particular tool on your build agent. So you will install those tools, and you will run some certain things, then you will generate those binaries and all those things you do. To run those tasks, sometimes it might happen that you need a third-party application, like so I would say, like you are running a task to actually do a Octopus deployment, for just for a example purpose. So Octopus is outside of Azure DevOps service. Octopus is a very different platform altogether. It is from a different vendor. It is from a different someone else is actually developing it. But at the same time, Microsoft has a kind of integration with those vendors, and they have published certain tasks to their marketplace that you can install in your the project, and then after installing, those tasks will be available for you to run in your CI as a part of your CI or CD pipeline. And this particular marketplace is kind of, growing, rapidly. Like, Microsoft is kind of collaborating with different open source vendors who are kind of market leader in terms of Puppet or Chef for different things. Different vendors are there, Ansible or Octopus, as I said. And then so you have for testing, you have Selenium and all those things. Microsoft is kind of collaborating with them, creating tasks, helping them to publish it in your marketplace so that consumers as you can use those tasks, and then you are not bound to only Microsoft ecosystem. You can use your existing tool chain, or you can use whatever you prefer. So that's what marketplace is. As code, this is a concept something around 6 months or 7 months back has introduced into the VSTS as well. Now it is kind of, Microsoft is kind of really kind of advertising it a lot. So it was already there, but now it in new interface it is very visible, and Microsoft is really want to use it. Microsoft want you to use it actually. So pipeline as code, the concept is very simple. So as I said, nowadays infrastructure as code is very hot topic among infrastructure people. So pipeline was still very graphical user interface. You go there, you select something, you add it, and all those kind of. Now you can write a pipeline as a code, and then you can actually submit it to a version control, and you can version it as well. So it is like, everything is like code, like, end-to-end traceability. You have like who changed the pipeline, when changed the pipeline, we want to restore it, we want to collaborate with the pipeline, certain tasks to be written by someone, at the same time some certain tasks to be written by someone else. That way, that flexibility you get with pipeline as code. So that is being said. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, we have one. Okay, extension. We have already covered that, GitHub. Okay, so this one is new. GitHub Marketplace extension. The last point that in the previous slide, that we are going to demo, and then we will also cover that. So not to worry about that particular point. Let's go with the next slide. Okay, so Azure Artifacts. So this is something they used to call package management, and what it okay, so if you are coming from a development background, then you must have heard of these things like Maven, NPM, NuGet packages. And what they are actually, I will tell you from an infrastructure point of view that if you are coming from a Linux background, then you must know that everything you install on a Linux is package repository way. Like, you have a package repository like yum or apt-get or something, and you have a command line, thing for you that you can call in the terminal, and you install that package which has been hosted on a public feed that they call. So in Azure DevOps term, we call it feed. You can call it repository, you can call it hub, you can call it anything you want. It's just that it is a public endpoint hosting a particular binary for you that you can call and install on your machine. Similar to that, if you have not heard of it, I would recommend you, if you are coming from a Windows background, you can go ahead and explore. That is Chocolatey package. So Chocolatey does the similar thing in Windows space. Microsoft has I think Microsoft has a collaboration with them. So I'm not sure whether it is official or unofficial, but I have seen that Microsoft people contribute as an open source contributor into the Chocolatey package repository to host different packages. So in Windows world, if you want to install certain things, you will download a exe or installer. You download it, then double click on it, install it, follow the wizard and all. Not that way. You have a hosting repository on public. It has a URL. You have a terminal like command prompt or PowerShell or anything that is available on your Windows machine. You call that command that they gives on their website itself. Behind the scenes, silently, that tool gets installed. Name it, not Notepad++. Any free software that is free to use, free to distribute, it is available over there.
So can I
And
sorry to interrupt. Can I compare this with something like Microsoft Windows Store, from where you can find all Windows related application, or Google Play Store, from where you get the application? So can we compare?
please, yeah, I mean, somehow you can in server client architecture, you can say that it is some similar to that, but there you have web interface. Here you have like terminal interface,
Gotcha.
and the other thing you have is, since there you have web interface, there is very less possibility of automation. Here you have so much automation prospect, because you are really calling a CLI, calling a command line interface to install certain things. So you can write a script to do the same thing, and you can actually kind of automate installation thing in your infrastructure. So I was just giving you guys a kind of a insight about what package is. Now, what is Maven, NPM, and NuGet? So if you are coming from a development background, you already know it. You kind of you go to Visual Studio Package Manager, you go there, you install it, install package, and then you get the list of packages and you install it over there. What happens when you install it? It gets added to your references. It adds DLLs into your references, and then the classes and the functions being exposed by those DLLs available to you. That is in nutshell what happens for developers. Now, so right now you are using public NuGet packages, or NPM, or NPM is like for node application, like NPM install and certain application, then you can call it Express or anything, and then you install it. So those packages, now you can actually host it yourself. So right now it is hosted on a public infrastructure. Now suppose you want to create your own package like NPM or something, and you want to host it within your organization, so that people can kind of reference that particular package and can use it in their software development. So it is like that only. Like suppose you have a DLL, right now if you have a DLL and you want that particular DLL to be used by some developer within your organization, you will give that DLL to them, and then you will ask them to add reference to that particular DLL. Not anymore. You create a NuGet package for that, and then you host it over there in Azure Artifacts. It is covered. Whosoever access to the Azure Artifact, then they only be able to call it. The one application of NuGet package is there. Then the second application will be that suppose you are using a public hosted NuGet package that is being developed by Microsoft or someone, I mean some outside vendor. Okay. Now they are not really with your application development lifecycle. So if suppose you have used their version 2 in your application, and now they have published version 3. So if you will keep on using their feed that is publicly available, then what will happen, that the next time you will reference that feed, you will get version 3, and suppose you have not updated your code to be worked with version 3, then your code breaks, and there is no solution for that. But now what you can do is you can host that particular public, so you will get that upstream version 2 from public. You host it within your Azure artifacts, which is covered within your organization, and you can keep on calling in your application version 2 from your feed, from your private feed, instead of calling it from the public host. So that's how it is kind of very useful if you are in an organization where so much collaboration is happening, different teams are there, different teams develop different things, and they collaborate together to share their binaries instead of codes. So that's how you can use. And then use feeds from Azure artifacts into your CI/CD pipeline. Yeah. So this is like once you have kind of published it there in your Azure artifacts, then either you can use it within your Azure pipeline, that is Azure DevOps service for CI/CD pipeline, or if you have a third-party application configured for CI/CD, that is Jenkins or something else, you can call those feeds there as well. There is no problem there. or even if on your development machine, you can call those feeds into your Visual Studio, and then you can install those feeds instead of going to the public feed. So that's how the the isolation from outside vulnerable environment you get with the Azure artifacts and collaboration. Of course, feeds are hosted in Azure Cloud, so that is one of the other advantage you get. You are hosting feeds secured within your organization, and you don't really have to pay for it. You are getting enterprise grade SLA within Azure on Azure infrastructure, that is kind of a world class infrastructure from Microsoft for cloud, and you are not paying for it. I mean, you, of course, there is a limitation that after certain, number of users, you will have to buy the service and then you will have to use it. But again, for limited user, it is still free. So you can explore it, you can find whether it is suitable for your organization, suitable for your development ecosystem or not. If it is, then go ahead and try to find out, I mean, what are the prospect of sales and all. So that's all about Azure artifacts. So yeah. Now we have Azure test plans. So this is another thing which is not free in Azure DevOps services. It has a kind of a pricing plan. It does not come as a free service by default. But if you have a Visual Studio Enterprise license, then you get a test plan with limited options over there. And what exactly it is, we will try to cover it in brief. When do you need it, and if you think this is what you do, then probably you can go ahead and explore this thing, how much price it will be and all. So the first thing is plan your test. So probably, I mean, mostly unit test, integration test, and all those Selenium tests and all, you can actually kind of automate during your CI/CD pipeline itself. Now, even after that, there must be some exploratory test, there must be some manual test that you want to do, and then at the same time you want to have a very seamless feedback system where developer gets the feedback from the manual tester that certain thing in UI or certain functionality is not working as expected. So that's what the test plan will solve for you. You can create your plan. And then there is a Chrome extension for web application, and you can run the test plan against your desktop application as well. And actually, you can capture the things which is happening on your browser, and after capturing it from the same interface, it is really good. Like, from the same interface, you can create bug and then send it as a feedback to the development team or to the stakeholders, who will kind of create work item right from that bug, and then it will again come back to your Azure board, that is Agile thing. From there, you can assign developers, and then developer will work on it, commit on Azure repo, or maybe in their code repository, it might be GitHub or something else. Then the CI/CD will run, and I mean, even the manual thing has been optimized to work in an automated way. So that's what the Azure test plan will solve for you. If you are from a testing team, if you have an application which has a requirement of doing manual tests and all those things, this is a thing for you. Else, if you are coming from an infrastructure team, then I will recommend you going through unit test and all first, and then later on you might see this particular option depending upon you or use case. So as I said, like, all these services are independent in their nature. It's not like that you will use Azure Pipeline, then you have to use Azure Test. No, if your organization tool set or if your application does not demand that particular thing, why will you use it? So that's why it is kind of set of tools. It is not a particular service there where everything has to be used or nothing has to be used. You can kind of segregate different things depending upon your need. Can we go for the next slide? I think it should be demo. So now for time for the demo, and that is for GitHub extension. So I will give you a brief idea about this extension and what exactly it solves, and then I will
Yes, so
start
Ashish,
sharing my.
yeah, before we go ahead into the demo, Let's take some questions. So I'll open the floor for a couple of questions. I'll go ahead and unmute the participant. Sorry, and you will have to unmute from your side, and you can go ahead and ask questions. So we'll take 2 to 3 questions, and then we'll get into the demo.
Okay.
All right. So audience, I have unmuted the audience. So if anybody has any question from audience, please feel free to unmute yourself from your end and then ask the question.
Hi everyone, this is Ashish.
Hey Ashish.
Yeah, hi Ashish.
So I was about to ask, like, how do we need to create a pipeline in VSTS? And if you could show me how do we need to add the extension from the Azure Marketplace, and how do we need to implement it? Because I was wondering if we could have a demo session of all these things.
Sure, that is what we are going to show now.
So okay, Ashish, so we'll cover that in the demo part. Any other questions? Anybody else has any questions?
Yeah, this is Vishnu.
One more question. How do we ensure that we can provision the environment easily using the pipeline? Is it like something out of the box, some facilities available, or we have to create our own custom scripts?
For infrastructure as code thing you are talking about?
The infrastructure as code part.
Yeah. So for that you have Azure ARM templates over there, and there are tons of examples over there in the quick start GitHub repository. So you have to start from there and then customize it according to you, and then you can commit into your code repository, and then onwards you can use it. And for deployment, it is just, it is not really very difficult thing. It is just a bunch of PowerShell line to do a Azure resource group deployment or something like that. So you will start from the ARM template quick start repository, and from there onwards, first do the customization, run it locally, then you go to the CI/CD pipeline of it. And mostly like for ARM templates, it really does not need any CI build actually, because it is just JSON file, unless you have some certain PowerShell module and all as a part of your deployment, and then you can go from there. Inbuilt task, inbuilt template is not there. Inbuilt template is for application developers mostly, .NET application, Node.js application and all. For Docker and Kubernetes, you have it.
Okay, yeah, that is what I was looking for. Thank you.
For Docker and Kubernetes, you have it. For normal ARM template and all, I don't think they have it. I have not tested it, but I did not see those things on the top in the top list.
Hi, I'm Arpit. I have a small question. Would you also be showing us a pipeline in VSTS for infrastructure as a code?
For today's demo, we try to incorporate our demo for a Node.js application, but yeah, in future, yes, we are planning to do something like infrastructure as code, either for a infrastructure as a service VM or something in the Azure portal, or something like Kubernetes or Docker. Not today.
Okay, yeah, because actually I have a issue while deploying a Terraform. So, and I was not able to fix it. So I was wondering whether, because when you talk about an extension, so I was not sure whether do I need a machine to use as an agent to deploy, for example, resources or anything into an Azure. So I was not sure. So I was just Googling around and found something. So I was looking at if you can show us as a demo so I can figure it out where I'm doing wrong.
Terraform we are not covering today, but in future we will try to cover those parts as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi Ashish.
Yep. Hi.
One question. So let's say I have an environment where I am using the AWS S3 and the Azure. So using the CI/CD pipeline, can I do the integration with the AWS as well?
Yes, that's what Microsoft kind of giving you, saying so much about that. It does not matter anymore about your programming language or the platform of your choice. So you can deploy it on AWS I mean, as simply as you can do with the Azure. But in practicality, I would say that it will always be a easy, seamless transition on Azure as compared to other platforms. But yes, they are kind of giving you all the option, and they are working hard to integrate it with all the different options available.
All right, I think let's go get into the demo.
Yeah,
So
we
why
are
don't you?
already touching the time now. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll try to
So let me
extend this
share my
session.
screen now. Okay.
Sure, go ahead. And thank you everyone for posting your questions and asking this question. This what makes these sessions interactive. So thank you for asking questions, and keep asking questions. If you have, keep typing in the chat. And while we are, we'll get into the demo so that we keep track on time. We may have to extend the session by 10 minutes or so, but
okay. I hope everyone can see my GitHub repository, GitHub page, right?
yes.
Okay, so from here we are trying to kind of demo a very new thing that Microsoft has launched with the GitHub, that is a marketplace extension. And I will start with the thing that, suppose you have a repository. Here I have a Node.js application over here, and this application might be using a different CI/CD pipeline altogether, or it might not have a CI/CD at all. So right now this application, and I want to use Azure Pipeline now because they are giving me free build minutes, like because it is on GitHub as a public repository, so it falls into the open source project. So now I want to use the Azure Pipeline so that I can utilize the free minutes that Azure is giving me and all the enterprise grade facilities that Azure is giving me. So to start with, what we can do here is we can go to the marketplace thing. Okay, in marketplace they have a pipeline extension. You can simply search. Okay. So this is the extension. Sometime it appears on the home page itself, sometime it doesn't, depending upon the GitHub thing. But right now, if you go there, okay, right now, since I already have used it for the demo purpose, I was practicing with it the day they have launched it. But if you will visit this thing for the first time, you will probably look for this, opt for this plan or something like that. When you go there, I click on this. Now, since I have kind of installed it already, else you will have, instead of issue plan changes, you will have the option for install in the green button over here. So I have opt for the free thing that gives me, everything, like all these things are already mentioned.
Yeah, so there was a question. I think there was a question about how do we choose the build agent? We have to choose a platform so this is where you will get the answer. Single agent will serve for Linux, Mac, and Windows, everything.
Yeah, not exactly. This is what exactly it's saying, that if you go with this plan, you will already get these 3 agents running on the Azure infrastructure available to you, whether you want to pick it or not. Right. That is up to you when you will actually define the pipeline, and that we will go through it. But right now it is only giving you that all these 3 things are already hosted, available for you, even if you are going for a free thing. And or you can go for another plan as well, like parallel jobs. So suppose 10 parallel job is not kind of going with my requirement, I need more parallel job, then I can buy another parallel job for $40. So okay, now once you will install it, you will get this screen. Right now I will go with the grant this app access. If you will click on install, the first thing you will get, whether you want to install this pipeline for all the repository you are hosting or one of the particular project repository. So I will go for one of the particular one that is I have created for demo purpose. So that is one. It will give you a thing that it will need write access, read access, and all. So using all these accesses, it makes your CI/CD movement from GitHub to the Azure DevOps services seamless. So for that purpose it needs these accesses. Once you click on install, it will go ahead and ask for your GitHub password. I will confirm my password. Then it will go to the communicate to the Azure DevOps service, and then it will ask me to log in there as well if I have not logged in. So I have not logged in. I will select my live ID over here. And then once I will log in, it will ask me the project details, where exactly I want to create the pipeline. So when you create a Azure DevOps, when you subscribe for it, the root thing is your organization. So I have 3 organizations actually. You can create as many organizations you want. So I have created 3 organizations. I will go for this one. Once you create organization, within organization you have different projects. So either you can select existing project that you have, or you can create a new project. I will go for a new project actually. I will name it GitHub Pipeline. You can name it anything.
And if I'm not mistaken, the URL in future would be renamed from visualstudio.com to Azure DevOps.
Right. I will go through it. I have intentionally not changed it. Right now also you have that option to change it yourself, or Microsoft will do it later. So once you will create a new project, you will go ahead and create it. It will go ahead, talk to your Azure DevOps service organization, create a project for you. Then it will get the code from the GitHub, and then it will give you a screen where you have to define your pipeline, and we will see it very soon. So once you will select it, now it is detecting a repository. I have selected that. This is my repository. Fine. Once I have selected, it automatically detects what type of application it is. Like right now, as I said, it is my Node.js application. They have number of templates for different types of application. So if you have Android application code hosted over GitHub, it can detect that as well, and it will give you kind of a sample pipeline. I will show you that one, and this way you have different templates over there. So I'll go with the Node.js thing, though I am not going to use this one as well, but this gives me a basic idea what exactly pipeline as code looks like. So it is a pipeline as code. I will show you what the other option, the older one is look like, but this is what the preview thing, it is still preview, but this is what a pipeline in a code looks like. So in nutshell, what it says that you have a pool, you want to select a VM image, this one. Instead of this, I can opt for Windows or anything else. Then I have steps, and in that step we have 2 tasks actually. It is not going to run for, the application I'm running, that needs certain more tasks, and I have already pre-configured it. I will just copy and paste over here so that it will run. You can opt for this one as well. This is just a basic. Now, if you want to understand this particular thing, so they have a couple of examples, as well as they have documentation as well. So in the pipeline itself, they have given the link. You go there, you see from where you can get the example over there, as well as they have a documentation to reference the schema, like what different things. This is a YAML. So YAML is a descriptive language, as you know, that is like JSON. Just like you have JSON in ARM template, this is YAML in pipeline. It is not a programming language, but it is a descriptive language where you will kind of Extensible kind of thing.
Yeah, and just to expand, YAML is yet another markup language.
Yep. Just like as I said, it is a descriptive language like XML or JSON, and it works on a tab and new line thing. Yeah, you can go ahead and explore this part. So this is let me go. Where is my project? Okay, so this is my project. Now I am going to replace this particular thing. Copy and paste. You can go with this as well, but I know this is something will work for me. And there are very basic things. So my repository self queue is hosted. I am going to use hosted agent, and that will be Windows agent. And then I have steps, like one is npm. This thing is like this is not something you can name it yourself. If you go to the task documentation, you will get to know what different task has this particular thing, and depending upon that information in the documentation, you will mention that information, and depending upon their documentation, you will start using. Most of them will have this property display name, inputs, argument, and all those things. So in the same way, I'm using npm install task, then I'm using gulp task for running my test, then I'm using archive to zip my file, and then I'm publishing my repository as a folder name drop. I mean, it is a zip folder name. So that's how, and then if I will click save and run, it will ask me whether I want to commit it to directly master branch, or I want to create a new branch for this commit, so that I can confirm whether I want to create a pull request and then I want to merge it with my master or not. For the time being, I will create it with the master itself. Okay, so I will create a pipeline, and then it will go ahead and create a it is right now configuring, and then it will run the build. It will soon show you the screen where it will run the build. So right now it is running the build. If it will be successful, then you will be able to see the artifacts. Right now it will show you the task and different state of the task. Right now it is going to the Azure infrastructure, asking for an agent. Since it is a pooled infrastructure where you will be in a queue. Once the agent will be available, that will be given to you. That is a real infrastructure in Azure. So as soon as the agent will be available, you will get it. Let's wait for some time. So while it is running, so see, as you saw that CI pipeline I have written as a code that is in a YAML language. For the time being, release pipeline cannot be written as a code. Release is yet as in the previous interface, that is visual interface. They are working on it. I have confirmed it in one of the webinar. So they have confirmed that they are working to get the similar experience with the release as well. So you will have a release pipeline as code as well. But for the time being, I will show you how to configure your release, and the same way it works for the CI as well. If you opt for the visual interface, that is easy in terms of usability, but in terms of optimization, this one is really good, because it gives you all the features that you get when you work anything as a code. So it is running the gulp task. Right now I don't have any gulp tasks. Actually, I have not written any test or anything, but I have included that task over there, and then it will publish. Okay, it has published. As you can see, there is an artifacts tab appearing now, and if you go to the drop, it is a zip file actually, and if I will if I will download this zip, it contains my code that can be deployed on the server. Now we will go ahead and create a release pipeline for that, and we will deploy this thing now. So I will go to the release. Right now we don't have any release here, so let's wait. Before creating a release, since you are creating a release, okay, let's go ahead. You have to have an environment over there, right, where you want to deploy. Now, as you can see, there are templates which you can opt. So as I said, deploy to Kubernetes cluster is already there, right? All these things are already there, skill set deployment and all. So these are the inbuilt IS deployment group and all these things are there. I want to deploy it in a very simple Azure web app. So I will go with the Azure App Service Deployment. The moment I will click on it, it will ask me for the stage. So a stage is like when you create an application delivery or application deployment, you must be having different stages where you want to have the options to deploy one place and then test it and then go further to deploy it to the another phase, like maybe UAT, then QA, and then production or something else. I mean, depending upon your application.
Yeah, so typically, you will have stages of your application dev, then from dev you transition to QA, from QA you transition to UAT, and from UAT you transition to production. So.
Right. So yes, so we want to deploy to a dev stage that I have just kind of named it. You can name it anything you want. Then you have to add artifacts from where it will get the artifacts. That's where you can mention your build, so it will automatically kind of detect the build. Right now you are running in this project, so right now I'm running this particular project, and there we have this build definition that we have just created as a code, and then it can actually get builds from these many locations. So you can have Azure Container Repository, like you have created a Docker image that you have kind of deployed to a repository, Azure Container Repository, and then you can call that particular thing in the release, or maybe from the Docker Hub, or maybe from a Jenkins CI, or maybe from Azure Artifacts. As I said, you can deploy something on the, you can host something on Azure Artifacts, and then you can consume it anywhere you want. So here you have these many options. And as you can see, there are few things which are outside Azure, like Jenkins and Docker. One of the major thing, Jenkins they mostly use for CI for all the other applications like Java and other, and then Docker have for container hosting. And then you can select for demo, and then I will go for latest, and then I will go add. So this is the artifact, and then you can see a little bit this icon. This is for continuous deployment trigger. So what does it mean? That as soon as there will be a new build available, run the deployment. That's what it means. So continuous deployment. So I will go ahead and enable it. The moment I will enable it, it is just I don't know why this particular thing is giving me this error, because it is working fine even though this error is coming. So I will say this particular master branch is my something. So whenever there is a build in master branch, then only I want to run it. So I have enabled this particular thing, and then I will go ahead and start configuring the task. So as you can see, it asks me for the Azure subscription against which the deployment will happen. So I will go ahead and check. I have a Visual Studio Professional subscription. I will go ahead and authorize this thing.
So Ashish, how did you get this list of Azure subscription? You had to connect your VSTS with Azure, right?
No, yes. So if you have not connected earlier, then you won't get anything over here, and then you will click on manage. The moment you will click on manage, you have the option to add your Azure subscription over here. You will get, there are different, that they call service connection, and you have different options to add, like you have, like you can add Docker registry, you can add Bitbucket Cloud, you can add Azure ARM Manager. So this is the Azure subscription. This is the option from where you can add a subscription you have. So automatic, if you are logged in with the same credential that has a valid subscription, it will go ahead and detect that. But if you are logged in as a different user in your organization where you are not having the subscription dedicated for you, or assigned to you as a owner or contributor, then probably you will have to go with the service principal authentication. And how you go about it, that you ask your team to there is a documentation over here. It is quite explanatory. Like you will go over here, it gives you certain PowerShell commands to write your, to create a principal, service principal. Using that service principal, you can add your Azure subscription over here, even though your personal ID do not have access to that subscription. And the moment you have that,
typically in production, you will use the service principal name concept. So you will create a service principal name in Azure AD in your Azure and grant that SPN full right onto your subscription. So that way you will be able to add your service endpoints here.
Right. Now I will go ahead and authorize this particular thing to use my Visual Studio subscription. It will go ahead and authorize, and if it is valid, the ID I have given, okay, it has already given me the subscription, and then I am opting for web app, then I should have different application name that I am hosting. So right now these are the two running web apps in my subscription, but I don't want to deploy it to any of them. I want to create a new one. So I will go ahead and log into my portal, quickly go ahead and create a Azure web app.
Can we do that from the VSTS console?
We can do that, not because we are not covering the infrastructure as code right now,
Okay.
because it will be a little bit lengthier release pipeline to demonstrate. But yes, if you have a use case where you want to do end-to-end deployment, creation of web app and then deploying to that, it is possible. So I will say ADP demo. Application name, it is available. I will go ahead professional because that is the subscription I'm using over there. I will say resource group. I'll create a Windows application, then free node tier, and then create. It will go ahead and quickly create that application, and it will start showing up over here in my interface. Right now, as you can see, there are only two web apps like ADP Power BI and then Udemy Mean. Then I will have the third option, that ADP demo that I have just created. So let's hope for this one to complete. It will soon complete. So once it will complete, I will go ahead and deploy to this app. First, I will show you once it complete, it will typically gives you the a basic IIS or Azure page that says that you don't have any code over there. Let's wait. Okay, I will go ahead and browse this thing, and it should give me a typical new web app page. Right, this is what we are getting. Now I will go ahead and create a release against this web application. Let's reload it, and let's see. Okay, we are getting ADP demo. I have selected this thing, and then I will go ahead and check. Okay, it is getting almost everything. Now, since we are deploying a Node.js application, there is little bit of configuration manipulation over here that will be required to deploy on a web application, and this particular thing will change depending upon your build and your release target. So if you are deploying it to ISVM, it might required, it might not be required. If you are deploying it on a Ubuntu server, hosting Apache application server or something, I mean, it completely depends upon whether you need it or not, depending upon your target platform. So I have already kind of done the thing. This is the thing you need. What exactly it does is it actually tells the Azure Web App that my host should be running Node. Like, I mean, it is a Node application. This is the thing it is doing. And the other thing we have to do is this configuration, application configuration information, and that is this. This will be added as an application configuration information. So if you go to here, and if you go here, and there is an application setting option, there you can see different application setting that you can set from the Azure Web App. So right now there should not be any variable with this name. So as you can see, there is no application setting with this name. But the moment I will deploy this, I will go ahead and save it. And then I will create a release. The moment I will create a release, since it is a manual release, it will ask me everything. I will go ahead and do this. It has created a release. I will go ahead and check whether it is running. It will ask me one more option to deploy it. Deploy it. Yes, because it is a manual release, it is not happening automatically. But we will show the CI thing as well, the automatic thing. So we are kind of, it is kind of showing. You can go to the log thing, and you can see it is running the application CD task, deploying artifacts. It will deploy quickly. It is a very lightweight application, simple Node.js application with 2 or 3 pages only, with basic routing and all. So it won't really take so much time. All these time you can see, this is the build time that you get. Like, to deploy a basic application, it normally takes less than 2 minutes or 3 minutes. And however, you are getting 1800 minutes per month, that is free from Microsoft, and all running on a VM, on an infrastructure that is hosted by Azure. So this particular thing you get with Azure DevOps services is really a good thing for you if you're running a open source project, because for these things you normally either go for a open source thing which less enterprise grade infrastructure, or you have to pay for it. But here you are getting an enterprise grade, you're not paying for it unless you are kind of exhausting your limits. So it is deploying all these modules and all packages, as you can see. So it has successfully deployed. Soon it will update the progress. So Nadeem is asking a question. Yes, we will provide that. Yes, we will provide.
Yeah, we will publish those as a part of onto the website.
So as you can see, it has completed, and let's go to my web application. So here is the web application. It was showing this page. Now it should show a different page altogether. Wait, it is free tier, so you don't get that. Yeah, so it is free tier, yet you are getting the application. So you can see you have a running application over here. And this is a simple, I would say, application that's supposed to return JSON files. As you can see, it is running everything. Now this API has been written. Now if I will run something like this one, it won't give me something because it has not been created. Now I will simply demonstrate a code change from developer that will make sure this feature will work. And that's how in any development environment things will work. So let me go ahead quickly to the code. This is my code which has been cloned to my local folder. I will go ahead and open it in Visual Studio Code. Fine. And I will just make sure that I have the updated code. So let me check if I am in the master branch. I should be in the master branch. So I am in the master branch. Let me just quickly sync it so that I can get all the changes. So you can see there is one down change. So that was our pipeline. As you can see, it has just updated. So this was the change I did from the GitHub itself. So I picked it now. Now what I will do in normal scenarios, there are different coding branching models, and you can go ahead and explore. The most common, the most useful one is Git flow. That you can explore. Most of the developers use, but it completely depends on the organization, structure and developers' preference. But for the demonstration purpose, I will say any change I do, I create a branch first and then I do the changes. So I make sure my master is updated locally. It is done. Now I will create a change. That is, I will say my feature. I mean, you can say anything like, it should be just that, organization follow a common standard along there. So it can be like, some feature name, it can be work item name type or whatever. Like I am just naming it for demonstration. I will go ahead and say create this branch. I should create. Oops, that is not. So let's wait. It will show you. Oh, you see this change. This branch has been changed. However, the code is still there. So when you create a branch, what happens? Your code from the master will be, copied to the new branch, and whatever the change you make, it will still be retained in the same branch unless you merge it. So we will show what exactly the merge is, but. For the demonstration purpose, what we are possibly doing is that we have like this route I have already created. I will just comment it out. Okay, what it does is it expects a hotel ID in the in the URL itself, and the moment you give the hotel ID, it will give you the data corresponding to that hotel ID only. That's the that's the change I am going to make. And then for the same route, I have created a controller as well. So I will just uncomment that part as well, so that okay. So we have we have made the changes. We will save it. The moment I will save it, my extension in the Visual Studio Code will detect that these two files has been changed. Fine, I will make the changes. I will say, updated route for hotel ID. So I will say commit it. The moment I will commit it, okay, why? Seems like some, okay, like double click. Okay, I will publish this thing. Commit has been done. Just I might have clicked on this right click cell twice. That's why the error came. Okay, it will go ahead and publish this change on my GitHub. Publish this branch actually. So what is happening in nutshell, that I had a master branch. I wanted to make some changes. I created a new branch. I made those changes. I published into the GitHub that, okay, this is the branch which contains the changes. The moment I will change, I will publish it. Let's go to my GitHub repo. You will see a thing. This is my repository. And you can see that there is a change created, and it is asking me for compare and pull request. So if I go to compare and pull request, it asks me whether you want to pull it or not, right? And whatever the code changes has been done, that you can see in the commit. Like you can see that these are the changes that has been done. Whether you are convinced enough or not, that is up to you, right? So the moment you commit it, and at the same time, I want to show something there in the project as well. Okay, so let's refresh it. Let's go to this build. So as you can see, there is a build ongoing, right? There is a build ongoing while I am kind of, checking whether I want to merge it or whether I want to, create a pull request or not. At the same time, whosoever owning that project can see that there is a change which was done in a branch, and it will check whether the build is getting successful or not. Let's go to this build, and this is automated build. Yeah, the release will not happen for this. We will go through that. Right now, so far we have only one release that we have done manually. Right now, let's see if after this release there should not be any release after this build. So it is running right now. Let's keep it running. At the same time, let's go to the pull, and you can see all these changes and whether you want to, you think whether these changes are relevant enough or not, those things. And depending upon, you will create a pull request to the owner that, okay, boss, I have made some changes, into API for ID, right? Pull it, please. So what is happening? I have created the change. I have published the branch. I'm creating a pull request. Please pull it. I'm creating a pull request. The moment I will create a pull request, actually, there will be another thing happening. I will show that particular thing as well. But let's just, you see, there is another build going on. If you go there is another build going on. So what will happen once the change published to the branch, it check, okay, now let's go to the release. There should not be any release. You see, there is no release, one release only, right? So it checks the build. Fine. Now, once I have published the, the pull request, it is again checking whether this pull request is healthy enough or not. What does it mean is that, like it will run a build against this change, and it will check the application is not breaking as far as build is concerned. So that's a really nice thing from the Microsoft as far as GitHub and Azure DevOps services or pipeline, Azure pipeline in specific, the integration, the kind of integration you are getting, it is like, really nice. Okay, the moment the build is successful, it shows here that, okay, build is successful. That means that whatever the changes this guy has made, since I am the only one I am working on this, but it might be a different developer and the owner is someone else. So whatever this Ashish has done in this pull request, it is really building properly. So you can go ahead and pull it. Like, you know, the moment I will pull, I will have the option to merge commit, and the moment I will merge, okay, I will confirm the merge. It will go ahead and create a merge with the master. So now the code changes I have done in my feature change, it will be part of the master now, after the owner has accepted that particular build. And then again, the moment right now, the moment this, you know, this pull is done, again a build will run, and this build will be run against the master branch. If you see, this is running against master branch. Earlier was not against master branch. Let's just check. This is against pull request, you know, and then again, if I will go to the previous one, this will again the feature change here. So different pull build is happening again different branches, and that's why the build is not going for the CD, I mean the continuous delivery, because I have configured my continuous delivery only when there will be any change to the master branch, which is happening right now. So if this particular thing is happening against master, because I have confirmed, okay, this change was fine, everything is good, let's merge it together with the master. It will merge it together, and the moment it will merge, it will run a continuous release as well. We will just, you know, kind of witness that particular thing. And at the same time, it has created a branch, and if I will go to the code back, I will still see two branches over there. So now you see there are two branches. One is master, another one is this one. Now I don't really need this one, right? I can either delete it from here itself, or I can go to the pull request, okay, and there must be some history. Okay, this one. So there must be not open. There must be some history over here. Let's delete it from there itself. I mean, I could have deleted from from previous screen itself where I was merging it. So I can go ahead and delete it from there. The moment I will delete, it is no longer part of my repository. My repository has only one branch. The build is happening for the master. The moment build is successful, now let's go to the release. There should be a release 2. You see, this is release 2, which is happening for the updated code. Now, earlier my API was not responding to this particular request. Now let's see whether it will respond. So you can see the logs. Yeah, quickly go ahead and see the logs, how the deployment is happening. Sometimes it may fail if developer has made changes, corresponding to configuration and all. So there might be some troubleshooting required. So it is not like once you create a CI, once you create a CD, I mean release, it will always work. Sometimes it might fail depending upon the changes you are doing. But yes, 80%, 90% of the time, developer do not make changes as concerned of the configuration. They only make changes to the functionality, what we are doing here. So the moment I have changed the functionality, the deployment is successful, and let's just hit this URL. And the moment I will hit the URL, it will go back to my application. It should return something. You see, this is returning. Earlier it was not returning. Now I will go ahead and do the same thing like ADP demo, and instead of 1, I will again hit everything. So I'm getting all the JSON. I will just say, okay, give me one hotel ID. It will give me one thing, right? One thing, everything related to this particular thing. So on. This is how your end-to-end development, CI, CD, traceability, collaboration, everything is covered if you are using GitHub extension for Azure Pipelines. So you are using Azure DevOps pipeline, you configured your CI, you configured your CD. At the same time, you can ask anyone, to do contribution, right? I mean, you are confirmed. As soon as they will contribute, my CI will make sure all the checks are happening. I will only merge when the checks are successful. If checks are not successful, you are sure enough that, okay, whatever the changes the guy has done, my build is not happening, build is failing. So I will ask him,
basically we have segregated the master branch and the secondary branch, and when we find it okay, then we merge it to the master branch, right?
Exactly. And that's how open source community works together. And that's why I said this particular marketplace extension is a thing to start with, for any CI/CD requirement if you are working on GitHub.
Got it. All right. I think we are way ahead of, way past our allotted time.
Right. We are kind of half hour, but it was interesting. I hope people has liked it, this particular thing.
Yeah. So I think if we are done with the demo, probably we'll open the floor for a couple of last questions, and then after that we'll
Fine.
close the call.
Let's if anyone, okay, we can download code from GitHub, but I was facing an issue for done. Yes, for big code bases, GitHub is not recommended. Team version foundation control. This is what MS uses for their fat repos. Yes.
All right. So we'll go ahead and close the call, and I want to say thank you everyone for joining our session today. And I really appreciate that you hold on to this session for another half an hour. We were supposed to finish it at 12 o'clock EST time, but you held back for so long. So I want to say thank you everybody for joining our session and staying back so long. And also I want to thank you, Ashish, for giving us this nice, wonderful demo and the session. It was really helpful and useful for us. And we will go ahead and publish the recording of this session on our YouTube channel. So please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we will also post those recording on our website, which is AzureEZ.com. So keep an eye out there. Also, you can register onto the website so that you get the notification for any new sessions or any new updates happening onto our website. So thank you once again for joining our session today, and we'll